Oktoberfest may be over for another year, but there is still time for just one more review. Hello and welcome back to the channel, and yes, Oktoberfest ends today, the date that this video goes out, but I did want to kind of mark that with another Oktoberfest themed beer review. This year I really haven't done a lot of the Oktoberfest beers. In fact, I've only reviewed the Paulaner right when it first came out nearly 2 months ago now, and well, to be honest, the reactions to that video were interesting. Now, first off, I'm going to put my hands up and say I genuinely think I did an honest and direct job of delivering my feelings on it at that time. It was not as good as last year's, in my opinion, or at least the experience I was having with it this year wasn't as good as the experience I had with it last year. Last year, it was the pick of the crop for me, which is why it was the only one I bought, because I thought, you know what, it's probably going to be the same this year, so let's go with it. Bought a full case, and well, it really wasn't to be the case. And in the comments of that video, a lot of people said they didn't agree with me. More people said they did agree with me, which was quite interesting. And more importantly, the people who had tried all of the Oktoberfest beers that year said one of two things. Well, maybe not all of them, but the majority of people who tried all of them said one of two things. And that was that either the Augustiner was the best, and traditionally this is the kind of beer aficionado's choice. The Augustiner Oktoberfest beer has been, well, just the one to go for in general terms for a long time. Last year it really didn't impress me, which I was a bit disappointed by, but apparently it was just a bit of an off year, incidentally, seemingly like what Paulaner is having this year. The really odd thing though was just as many people said this year's Lowenbrau was fantastic, and let's be honest, the Lowenbrau is generally not the choice. Between this and the Spartan, they are, generally considered to be the lesser of the selection. It's not that they're bad, but they are not just at the other end of the scale. There's got to be some sort of ranking in here somewhere, and yeah, they're usually not at the great end of it. But apparently this year's Lowenbrau is scintillating. So instead of bringing them all together and me to try and review 6 beers all at once, which gets a bit difficult and all a bit messy, so instead of doing that, I thought I would bring forward the people's favourite Oktoberfest beers for this year and pitch them head to head. This is the Lowenbrau versus the Augustiner to see which one really reigns supreme. So, as normal fashion, I don't think the bottles on these have changed at all since last year. The Lowenbrau doing its normal stuff. It looks very nice, very trad. Got Oktoberfest beer written on the top there in kind of scrolly lettering. It looks the business, not overly exciting, but it does look the business. The Augustiner, however, a bit different, a bit more modern labelled, still very trad, but Augustiner Brau Oktoberfest beer with a nice picture of one of the Oktoberfest tents on the front there. No label on the back on this one. The Lowenbrau comes in at, because I can't remember from last year, it comes in at 6.1%. Couldn't tell you if that's the same as last year. If I remember, I'll delve back into my review of this from last year and let you know on screen now, but I really can't remember. And the Augustiner comes in at 6.3. So, big boys here. I'm going to do the Lowenbrau first because it is the lower ABV and is the one that I don't imagine is the preferable, just based on previous experience. But I am open to having my mind changed. So, let's get this open. Oh, and I've got 2 identical Oktoberfest tankards here, and I am not lost on the irony that they are Paulaner branded, which, yeah, I've already said wasn't great this year, but they are the best 2 for this job. So let's get that poured out. Nice golden colour to it. Have I been a bit too happy with the pour? Probably a little bit, but hey, foam is the name of the game at Oktoberfest, and there you go. I have to say though, from a distance, it smells pretty good. And we'll get the Augustiner open straight away as well, so we can do this fairly, get them side by side. Bit paler, I think, just looking at the pour, but maybe probably not much in it by the time it's all in there. maybe a bit too reserved on the pour of this one. No, I genuinely think it's just a less carbonated beer, to be honest. Interesting. When we hold them up then, the Lowenbrau, even though it was poured first, looks like the better beer, it has to be said. It is just holding its head a bit better. It's slightly darker, a bit more golden. The Augustiner over here is looking just a touch light, and it's taking on a lot of the colours of the things around it. Because the blue lights behind me, it's starting to look a bit green in the glass. Of course, that's not a thing to mark it down. If I hold them both up to the studio light, you won't be able to see this. They are pretty similar, but as I say, the Lowenbrau just takes it on the visual. So, aroma time. Nice, big, malty, bit of spice in there. Nice punch of lemon zest as well, citrusy fruit notes, and somewhere in the depths you can tell there's this big, doughy, rich, almost pumpernickel bread kind of thing just ticking around the bottom there. Maybe not quite that dark, maybe it's more those thick donuts, but you get the idea. Anyway, smells very nice actually. For the Lowenbrau, I'm genuinely amazed. On to the Augustiner. Well, that is a distinctly different setting. Let me just switch hands here for a moment. Like the body, the aroma is lighter. It's more grassy, more fruited, more like berries, slightly almost a kiwi vibe to it, which is a bit odd. But anyway, it's nice. But to be honest, it's not got a lot of malt character. It's not got much spice to it. It smells like a very nice German lager, but much like that Paulaner, it's not just giving me the wow, this is a fest beer just off the aroma, which is interesting. So let us get into these, shall we? We'll go in with the Lowenbrau first. Well, it's been another Oktoberfest year. I, to be honest, wish I'd been there once again. Wish I'd drank more Oktoberfest beers during this season, but I haven't, so this is the farewell. Cheers. I understand why people have been saying that this is the best. I'm not saying it is right now, but it's big, it's rich, it's sweet, but it's still refreshing. It's slightly candied in some way. It's really, now I want to say almost butterscotchy. For those of you who know about the beer brewing process, the word butterscotch raises alarm bells because that is a signifier of an off note, something you don't want. But I don't mean in that way. It's just got this nice, soft, sweet, tactile, slick vanilla nature to it that, well, it's all in on that big bready malt. There's a little bit of a sharp hop thing just at the end to try and balance it out. It doesn't really balance it out. It is a bit of a desserty beer, this, especially for this style, but I've been saying it for ages that the trend seemingly was to add a bit more hops to these and make them a bit brighter, which I wasn't a big fan of. This seems to have gone the other way, but it is very nice indeed. My gut reaction is that Lowenbrau is infinitely better than the one they did last year, although I can't remember how I rated it, so that might not be true. Now, my gut reaction is that would have scored pretty well when I did the big ranking, proper breakdown of these beers last year, but I don't think it would have come in at the top spot, which was, of course, last year's Paulaner. However, this one last year really disappointed. It just felt like a letdown. It felt like, I don't know really. I think it was just the anticipation of them actually releasing it because they took a while longer to come out and stuff, and it just wasn't there. But let's give it a go now. It's definitely going to be a distinctly different offering to the Lowenbrau, so here we go with the Augustiner. Cheers. I was expecting this to really, just based on its aroma, be another big old disappointment. But that is phenomenal. I need to collect myself a bit here because I need to just try and articulate what it is I'm experiencing, because it is something very special. Up front, it has got that big, grassy, refreshing note from the aroma, slightly fruited again, and it's there, and it's just this nice meadowy experience. I say it all the time, meadowy experience, about a lot of German beers. What I mean is, it feels full of minerals, full of open air character. It's not bogging you down at all. It's uplifting, but it's not a shock to the senses, is what I really mean. Then on the mid palate, the freshest, most beautiful sourdough bread note right in the middle there. And I think that this is interesting because it's not that big, heavy, rich, donutty, pumpernickel, heavy, super heavyweight bready thing that we expect sometimes from this style of beer. It is lighter, but the flavours are executed perfectly. You can taste that raw material, that grain, and it is absolutely beautiful. On the back end, the bread shifts into a more biscuity sweetness, shortbread, sugar, touch of vanilla, and along with it, a hint of those baking spices, festive spices, that thing that really tips fest beers off into their own distinct thing, at least for beers that look the way they do. And that is absolutely beautiful and key for me in finding a good one. It's not too much, you do have to pay attention for it, but it absolutely is there. And then on the aftertaste, it's fresh again, it's bright, it's hoppy, but it's more grassy, only ever slightly so drying, and it leaves you really wanting another big old sip. It didn't look as good, it didn't smell as good, but that taste is absolutely insanely on point. That is exactly what I want from this style of beer. Now, I know I didn't give you a full breakdown of the Lowenbrau, but I was going to give it a revisit just to see if anything's changed. It's bigger on flavour, it's a bit sweeter. That slightly lemon zesty hop note that I mentioned before, given into the fact that it's also very sweet, is giving a little bit of a Radler-esque vibe. It's not there, of course, it's not as washy, it's not as sweet, it's not as fruity, but it does have something about that about it. A lot of people will love this because ultimately it is sweeter, and that is just a trait of humans in general. Humans like to seek out sweet things. That's just an evolutionary thing. And as a result, when you get a lot of things together that are quite similar, the sweeter one is often the favourite. But for me, looking into those individual flavours, they're a bit muddled. They're not really distinct. It's just this one passing experience that is admittedly absolutely brilliant, but I can feel the attention to detail, the articulation, the finesse craft in this Augustiner, and yeah, I just can't beat that, to be honest. It is absolutely fantastic. My choice, and I've not tried them all, but based on everyone else's, of the people's choices, the Augustiner Brau gets the pick for this year's Oktoberfest Beer of the Year from me, but there are some others. Do you want me to review the rest of them? Genuine question, because it's over now, and I do have them still. I could do it. I haven't done it because, frankly, I've been insanely busy and I haven't had a chance. But yes, if you want me to look at the rest of them, let me know in the comments and I will do it. And if you think any of the others really, really were better than either of these, then let me know again as well in the comments, and I'll see if I can pitch them head to head, if I can pick any more up. But if you liked either of these, you're not wrong. They are both scintillating. But for me personally, that Augustiner wins out. No questions asked. But yeah, that really is all I've got to say about them. So as always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you haven't already, subscribe if you'll be so kind. And I'll catch you next time. Cheers.